Hi, we're ClearGauntlets.
I'm Willard Milgis, 5th year computer engineering major and firmware and testing lead.
Hi, my name is Sanjay Tukas. I built our VR demo and did most of our administrative work.
Hi, I'm Daniel Sufa. I'm a 2nd year mechanical engineering technology student, and I've been aiding in the mechanical design.
My name is Tucker Erickson. I'm a 5th year mechanical engineering student, and I'm the lead mechanical designer.
Hey, I'm Long Nguyen. I'm a 5th year electrical engineering major, and I'm the PCB designer.
My name's Dennis. I am a 5th year electrical engineering student. I am in charge of the power system and control system.
Headsets are the core of the virtual reality experience. The ability to perceive a virtual world from your personal point of view is what separates VR from simply watching a video on your computer. From simple 3DOF phone VR viewers to multi-$1,000 high-end headsets, VR headsets span a wide market with many interactive experiences and headsets targeting the consumer market. Unique virtual reality experiences are the real purpose of this technology. Whether you're experiencing a story from the perspective of a main character or sliding down a water slide in the comfort of your own home, creating these immersive experiences is the purpose of virtual reality. Adoption is extremely important, not only so that as many people can experience virtual reality as possible, but also in order to drive investment in the space and improve the overall experience. Controllers, whether combined with headsets, are what elevate VR experiences to something beyond a movie in the first person. The ability to interact with the virtual world in the same way you would interact with the physical world elevates experiences and makes the virtual reality all the more real.
The state of VR controllers, being as important as they are, a lot of investment has gone into making VR controllers as good as they can be. However, the technology is still very young, and there are some limitations preventing most of the mass market options from being as good as they can be. The most immersive options are the glove with full finger tracking and force feedback, so that when you act on something in the virtual world, your hand can feel it. While these options are absolutely stellar, the majority of them are made for industrial use and can cost tens of thousands of dollars. For example, haptics, full body VR. The current widely available customers models take on more of a wide approach. They are held in your hands like traditional controllers and can use the orientation and positions of your hands within VR experiences. However, in order to perform many actions, there's simply a push buttons to press on the controller, and there's no response in the real world. The on and off nature of the button also means that it is very difficult to simulate tasks that require dexterity. For example, instructing someone on the proper use of a pen would be impossible using the currently available customer-grade products. These problems have been understood for a long time, and we are not the first group to try and solve them in any way that most VR users can enjoy.
There are a handful of different community attempts to replicate and even enhance the full finger tracking experience. The Lucid VR community is a group of people who have rallied about the idea of DIY VR gloves with haptic feedback that can be built by hobbyists for a reasonable price. The community has gone through 5 glove prototypes and has done a lot of scaffolding work for this project. They developed the firmware and pioneered a lot of the techniques that we have chosen to iterate on ourselves. Their focus has primarily been on reducing the cost of the gloves, and they have succeeded in that endeavor. However, the reduced price point brings with it some quirks in the build process and overall quality of their final solution. While it is improving at a rapid rate, it would be a stretch to call it production ready.
Our iteration on the solution is to create a pair of high-quality VR gloves that could be used for both hobby and industry. To this end, we made some concessions on the total cost of the gloves, bringing it up to $200 a pair from Lucid VR 60. While this is more expensive, it is also still well within the range of a VR enthusiast or fledgling technical trainer. The structural and intellectual improvements to the gloves more than justify this cost.
This is the latest ClearGauntlets prototype. This glove allows you to feel what you're actually grabbing in virtual reality. The way this works is on each finger, there's a module, and each module is comprised of 2 potentiometers and a servo. A real system with a string connected to the tip of your finger will track the curl of your fingers, each individually, A linkage on the front connected to another potentiometer will track the display of your fingers. The servo on top will restrict the motion of the spool in order to create a force feedback effect, which makes it so your individual fingers will feel force when you're grabbing an object in-game. All of these modules are routed into a PCB on the back. This communicates with the game environment. When you have a system of two gloves with their own PCBs, this will create the effect where in virtual reality, you will see your hands, you'll see the position of every finger, and when you grab items in virtual reality, you'll feel it on your fingers in real life. The whole system is powered through this battery bank, which is attached to the wrist, and it communicates via Bluetooth, so it's able to be entirely wireless on your body. A controller or vibe tracker sits on top to track the position of your hand in 3D space, and that's again transmitted into the game environment.
We hope to get more immersive with the VR glove while being more affordable for many people to use, as the virtual world with the current controllers, it's not very interactable. We hope to be able to capture more finer motions that the controller cannot replicate, as we can grasp blocks, wield weapons, rather than using a button to do so. With our version being open source, we hope to help take a step into advancing and developing the haptic gloves, and to find cheaper alternative rather than buying the more commercially available ones, which can range up to $1,000.
So during the initial development of this glove, they were intended to be full replacements for the standard VR controller. A very large part of that was having full onboard tracking. This would be a major differentiator, because even some of the more expensive gloves built for technical trainers don't have this feature. However, we learned very quickly why there were so few people tackling this problem. The trackers would have required full visibility to a lighthouse at all times. They also use very precise timings, so the processing speed has to be fast. So fast, in fact, that most custom VR tracker companies do most of the pre-processing with specially designed chips rather than software. And after all of that was done, we still had to get the tracking solution we came up with to speak with Steam VR. By the time we had discovered all of these problems, there simply wasn't enough time to design, test, and integrate all of these solutions into the glove. However, a standalone tracker or adaptable tracking system would be a good candidate for future projects.
We would like to thank some people who have really helped us out during this project. Mark Boylan provided an excellent non-technical perspective and generously volunteered his time as a client for this project. The Lucid VR community gave us excellent platforms to build off of, and without them we would not have made it nearly this far in the time that we did. And finally, Dr. Alexander Louie, a stellar faculty advisor, made sure we were aware of possible production issues and kept us on track throughout the year.